Hello, I am the real-life fake wizard. The Ellison family just watched Star Trek Starfleet Academy become a worldwide punchline. A Spock action figure sitting in an empty chair drew more viewers than their flagship premiere show. Fox News made jokes about it. The internet hasn't stopped laughing. And the Ellisons, the family that recently acquired Paramount and Star Trek for $8 billion, they've done nothing. They're still doing nothing. And I don't know if this is some kind of a football play of sorts, like the Ellisons wanted this show to collapse and fail, or if they're genuinely just letting it ride. I wish I knew what they were thinking by letting the show air and then continue to air. But more importantly, and what we're about to discuss here, is if the Ellisons, who are willing to spend nearly $100 billion to acquire Warner Brothers, if they can't stop the bleeding on a legacy property as important as Star Trek, then I think that should disqualify them from being in the running to acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. Today's indie game shoutout is our Adventurer Guild. Become the new guildmaster of the Adventurer Guild and lead your adventurers in explorations and turn-based tactical battles. Will the guild thrive under your leadership, or will it finally disband under it? To learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games, visit our indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. Okay, let's be clear about a few things early on here. Number one, I'm not a Trekkie. I've seen a bit of Next Generation, but the extent of my knowledge to Star Trek is, shut up, Wesley. Number two, my aggravation with the Ellisons is not an endorsement of Netflix. Like Netflix also wants to acquire Warner Brothers, I don't want that to happen either. It's bad for consumers overall if either company gets WB. Number three, this is not a review of Starfleet Academy. My time is precious and limited, and I couldn't stomach how dog shit that first episode was. I tried to watch it. I watched the Nerdrotic and Heel vs. Babyface reviews instead. Now we can talk for real. What the heck are the Ellisons doing? Or more accurately, what are they not doing? January 15th, 2026, Star Trek Starfleet Academy premieres. Paramount makes the decision to release the pilot episode for free on YouTube. The strategy makes sense on paper, right? Lower the barrier to entry, get people hooked, funnel them over to Paramount Plus for the rest of the season. But the pilot peaked at 1,300 concurrent live viewers. 1,300 for a Star Trek premiere! For free! On YouTube! Gary at Nerdrotic saw those numbers and decided to run an experiment. He set up a live stream of just a Spock action figure sitting in an empty chair. No commentary, no music, no production value whatsoever. Just a plastic toy doing nothing. That stream beat the Star Trek premiere in under 3 minutes. It peaked at 3,389 concurrent viewers, more than double what Paramount got for their multi-million-dollar series. And the Ellisons, the people who just spent $8 billion to acquire this company, who specifically promised to expand and grow Star Trek, who talked about holistic approaches and cross-platform expansion and bringing Star Trek back to the big screen, as I keep saying, they're doing nothing. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Wizard, this show was made before the Ellisons took over. This isn't their fault. They inherited this mess. Yeah, you're right. They did inherit this mess, right? Starfleet Academy was greenlit under the previous regime. It was developed by Alex Kurtzman's team, the same people who gave us Discovery and all the other Paramount Plus Star Trek shows that have been hemorrhaging fans for years. But here's the thing. Inheriting a problem doesn't mean you have to make it worse. That's like going to a hospital and saying, hey, I lost my fingies in an unfortunate schmelting accident, and the hospital just says, that's fine, you're gonna bleed out and die, no biggie, dude. I see this as the Ellisons had a choice. They could have looked at this show, recognized it was going to be a disaster, and pulled the plug before it aired. They could have eaten the production costs, written it off, pulled a Warner Brothers, and made a public statement that the new Paramount was going to do things differently. That would have been a sign of leadership. That would have been protecting the brand. That would have been a show of strength. Instead, they let it air. They let it fail publicly. They let the brand take damage that they could have prevented. And make no mistake, the damage is real here. We're not talking about one bad show that people are going to memory hole and forget. We're talking about accelerating the death spiral that Star Trek has been in for years. Star Trek's time on Paramount Plus has been catastrophic for the franchise. Discovery was polarizing at best and actively despised at worst. By the time the Ellisons acquired Paramount, what they bought was already severely damaged goods. Star Trek, as a brand, is on life support. The hardcore fans are exhausted, like they've tapped out. The casual audience has checked out as well. The name recognition is still there, but the goodwill is entirely gone. Starfleet Academy is another nail in a coffin that's already rotted. But it's worse than that, because it's not just about losing the fans you've got. It's about poisoning the well for fans you might have gotten. Think about the longtime Star Trek fans, the people who watched the original series or grew up on Next Generation, who fell in love with Deep Space Nine. These people have been through hell with this franchise. They've watched show after show fail to capture what made Star Trek special. They've been called toxic and entitled and every other name in the book for daring to have opinions about content they've supported for decades. These fans, they're done. They're not coming back. If they're watching, it's likely because they're forcing themselves through it to make a YouTube review. I don't care what the Ellisons announce next. I don't care if they fire Alex Kurtzman tomorrow. I don't care if they bring back the original cast from the grave. Too many longtime fans have made a conscious decision to stop caring about Star Trek. And once someone makes that decision, once they emotionally divest from something they used to love, you cannot get them back. That relationship is done. But here's something that terrifies me about the Ellison strategy here of just letting it ride. It's not just the old fans they've lost. It's the new fans they're never gonna get. Think about the young person who's never watched Star Trek before. Maybe they heard about it from their parents or somebody here on the internet. Maybe they saw a reference in other shows. Maybe they're just curious. And the first thing they encounter is Starfleet Academy, a show that's being mocked everywhere, a show that got outperformed by a plastic toy, a show that the entire internet is laughing at. That's their first impression of Star Trek. That's what the brand means now. It's cringe, it's failure, it's something to avoid. There is no new blood coming to Star Trek. Youth aren't interested, and why would they be? Their introduction to this franchise is a meme. It's a cautionary tale about corporate mismanagement. Even if the Ellisons do eventually relaunch the brand, even if they clean house and start fresh and make genuinely good content, which they likely will, they're going to be fighting uphill against the memory of Starfleet Academy and Discovery and the first few seasons of Picard and everything else during the Kurtzman era. Every trailer they release, every announcement they make is going to be compared back to the Paramount Plus regime. And it's going to be compared back to a Spock doll in a chair. Everyone is going to remember how bad it was and come into anything new looking through the lenses of very deep scrutiny. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what's the alternative? They already made the show, they already spent the money. What were they supposed to do? Cancel it. That's what they were supposed to do. I'm serious. Cancel Starfleet Academy before it aired. Heck, do it now. Cancel it right now. Make a public example of it. Put out a press release that says, here, I'll give you the quote. The new leadership at Paramount has reviewed our upcoming content slate, and we've determined that Star Trek Starfleet Academy does not meet the quality standards we intend to maintain going forward. We're writing off this production and refocusing our efforts on content that respects the legacy of this franchise and serves the fans who have supported it for nearly 60 years. That's how you make a good show of strength. That's how you send a message to everyone at the company that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. That's how you protect a brand. Instead, the Ellisons are letting this thing fly. New episodes are still coming out. Heck, news outlets are talking about a season 2 as if it's already in production. And this is what brings us to Warner Brothers now, because everything I just described, everything about negligent stewardship and brand damage and letting disasters play out, Warner Brothers should be paying very close attention right now. The Ellisons, through Paramount Skydance, have been running a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. They want the whole company, meaning all the entertainment like DC and Harry Potter, but also CNN and all the news outlets. They want everything. Their bid is valued at $108 billion as of the recording of this video. Larry Ellison, one of the richest people on the planet, has personally guaranteed $40.4 billion in equity financing. They've extended the tender offer deadline multiple times. They're lobbying in Europe. They're suing for document disclosure. They desperately want this deal to happen. And right now, as all of this is going on, they're demonstrating exactly what their stewardship looks like. They're letting Star Trek become a national joke. They're watching the brand's damage accumulate in real time. And they're doing nothing to stop it, man. If I'm sitting on the Warner Brothers board, I'm pointing to Starfleet Academy and saying this is why we don't sell to these people. And if I'm sitting on the Netflix board, I'm sending this video to someone at the Warner Brothers board to make the case for me that they shouldn't take the deal with Paramount. You're welcome, Netflix. My friends, Warner Brothers has leverage here, and they could use it if they want. The WBD board has already rejected the Paramount bid multiple times. They've called it inadequate and illusory. They've raised concerns about the financing structure and the debt load and the operating restrictions. They've recommended shareholders stick with the Netflix deal. But now they have something even better than financial analysis. They have evidence. Starfleet Academy is Exhibit A. It's proof that the Ellisons will let a show launch that they know is going to fail. It's proof that they'll let brand damage accumulate rather than take any decisive action. Warner Brothers should be waving this around in every shareholder communication. They should be citing it as a regulatory filing. They should be asking loudly and publicly, is this who you want running DC? Is this who you want managing HBO? Is this who you want in charge of Harry Potter? But let's be real here. No executive is going to bring this up, whether it be at Warner Brothers or Netflix. I might say it, I might point it out for you, but none of them have the cojones, the courage, that's the right term, the courage to bring this up, because all the executives love things like Starfleet Discovery. It plays right into all the ideological and message nonsense that they all love. So while the show is bleeding out and the brand is bleeding out, they're gonna do nothing, because the context of the show that is bleeding out is the same thing that Netflix and Warner Brothers love. Now, there is a theory floating around that all of this was intentional, and I referenced it earlier in this video, that the Ellisons knew Starfleet Academy would fail and they let it happen on purpose. That's what the rumor says. The idea is they wanted to use it as leverage, let it burn, blame the previous regime, fire everyone responsible, and then rebuild Star Trek their own way. Classic scorched earth. If that's really the strategy, that's insane. Like, that's genuinely insane, because here's what scorched earth actually gets you. It gets you a dead brand. It gets you fans who've permanently checked out. It gets you young people who remember Star Trek as a joke. It gets you a franchise that's been so thoroughly humiliated that even a brilliant reboot is going to struggle against the baggage. Scorched Earth is a strategy where everyone loses, and I'm sick and tired of strategists and talking heads on the news just throwing around Scorched Earth ideas like it's an okay thing. You hear this in politics all the time. Oh, we'll sacrifice such and such to XYZ party, and then the people who voted for XYZ will learn and they'll bend the knee to ABC party next election round. They'll learn through pain. That doesn't work. And bringing it back to Star Trek now, getting away from the politics stuff, the fans lose because they don't get good content. The company loses because the brand is damaged beyond easy repair. The new creative teams lose because they're starting from an impossible deficit. The best show of strength here would have been to cut Starfleet Academy's head off publicly. Actually, it still is. Like, let this monster play to episode 4 or 5 even, and then publicly decapitate this disaster before it could do any more brand damage. To demonstrate that this new regime has standards and is willing to enforce them. And look, to make clear for you people in the comments, I am not saying that Netflix would be better stewards of Warner Brothers. Netflix has their own problems. I said this earlier. We literally did a video about how Netflix designs their content for people who aren't paying attention. Their second screen philosophy is basically an admission that they don't expect viewers to actually watch what they're making. But hey, at least Netflix didn't let their flagship franchise become a punchline, right? Uh-oh, yes they did. So what needs to actually happen here? Well, for Star Trek, the damage is done. You can't unburn a house, but the Ellisons could at least stop pouring gasoline on it. Cancel Starfleet Academy now. Announce a comprehensive review of all Star Trek content that's in development. Fire Alex Kurtzman if they haven't already. Make a clear public statement that the franchise is going to go dark until they can figure out how to do it right. Will that save Star Trek? Probably not. The brand damage from the Paramount Plus era is way too severe, but it would stop the bleeding. It would give whatever comes next a slightly better chance. We see similar things like this happen with Marvel too. Marvel TV shows that we know either from internal leaks or in the drop it all at once release schedule that Marvel doesn't have faith in quite a few of their Disney Plus shows. Unfortunately, those terrible shows do brand damage to Marvel too, and people will say, oh, they can't cancel them because of contracts, or they have to release it because of all the contracts, and whether that's true or not, maybe some of these issues are contract related, audiences don't care. They don't have the patience to care that you contracted away your soul to Ironheart, okay? With every Ironheart, you lose more and more attention from audiences. It would almost be better to suffer the losses and pay out whatever settlements you need to than to let these creations see the light of day. What's a couple $100,000 next to billions of dollars at the Avengers Doomsday box office? And that's the issue with Starfleet Academy. It's worth more to the Ellisons if no one sees it. But to think like that, to think consciously about your branding and positioning and to make sure you don't lose your audience, right? You need to be considerate of your audience. You need to not hate the people that are paying you. Corporations don't care about you. They don't care about the franchises you love or the ones that have inspired you and made you the person that you are. They care about money. And that's fine, actually. Like, that's how business works. But here's the thing about money. You make it by making products people actually want. You make it by building brands that people trust. You make money by demonstrating competence and leadership and the willingness to make difficult decisions. The Ellisons have failed that test. This isn't Star Trek. This is a corporation strip mining a legacy for content. And the people in charge, despite all their promises, are letting it happen. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Live long and prosper. Shut up, Wesley.